So when we look back on all your travel adventures, what would you say was your biggest or most memorable travel mistake? The kind where you thought, well, probably shouldn't have done that or gone there. What would you say that experience was like for you?
So in 2015, I went to Thailand with one of my best friends, and we were going to visit my other best friend who lived there. I was very reluctant, but I'm like, you know what, Denika, you have to just go with the flow sometimes. So we went in this tuk-tuk, and we got kidnapped. We got kidnapped for a solid 1.5 to 2 hours.
Black while traveling. What are your personal do's and don'ts for traveling while Black, if you have any?
Personal do's and don'ts.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of 3 Questions with Corey Kareem, the podcast where we sit down with some amazing people who are doing some amazing things. And that's right, you guessed it. We ask them 3 questions, sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I see you laughing. But hey, that's not the purpose of this. So we focus on conversations around failures, more specifically the lessons that individuals learn from those unique or individual experiences. So with that being said, my guest today is a powerhouse at the intersection of wellness, womanhood, and work-life freedom. She's a founder, storyteller, and a strategist who's not just building brands, but redefining balance. She's the creator of Liberty to Leave, y'all. The movement and platform helping women reclaim their time and energy without burnout. Can we do one for men too?
No, not me.
When she's not championing future of work conversations, she's dropping gems on IG about boundaries, healing, and the real stuff behind the highlight reel. So, without further ado, your favorite boundary setting, big sis, and CEO of her own soft life era, Danica S. Nelson. Welcome to the podcast.
That was an excellent intro. Thank you.
You felt that?
I felt that. I'm like, that's me? I love that.
So it's funny, when I started this pod, I used to ask people, when you hear people rhyme back your accolades, your accomplishments, are you like more like, are they talking about me? Or are you more like, yeah, that's right?
I am a yeah, that's right person.
Yeah.
And like, I think that I know all of the things that I've accomplished and I'm very proud of them. But sometimes I don't know if other people know. Do you know the J. Cole song, Sideline Story? I often feel like I'm a character in Sideline Story. So it's nice sometimes when people know.
Yeah.
They know Wagwan, you know?
Well, you should be proud. You should be
you.
proud. So, Denika, the purpose of my podcast, at least I start the conversations around failure. More specifically, the lessons that you've learned from mistakes, failures, setbacks, however you want to characterize that. So when we think about yourself, because you're this major travel influencer, you've traveled the world, and we're going to get into some of the cool places that you've visited. So when we look back on all your travel adventures, what would you say was your biggest or most memorable travel mistake? The kind where you thought, well, probably shouldn't have done that or gone there. What would you say that experience was like for you?
Okay, so in 2015, I went to Thailand with one of my best friends, and we were going to visit my other best friend who lived there. She was teaching English at the time.
Right.
And she had to work that day. So me and my friend from Toronto who were visiting her, we decided to do our own little adventure for the day. We wanted to see the reclining Buddha, which is like a huge tourist attraction in Thailand. Our friend who lives there gave us very clear instructions on how to get there. Don't get distracted. Do what you got to do. Just go. So we said, okay, we're going to go. On the way there, we stopped to get some food from McDonald's before we started our day. And we met this kind of Thai man outside of the McDonald's, very well dressed in like a suit, spoke perfect English, and was just so friendly to us. He was telling us, you know, about his times where he's visited Canada in the past. He told us he loved Niagara Falls. He told us he was a school teacher. He felt very trustworthy.
Got you.
We had no reason to doubt him. And to give you a bit of background on me, like I am very type A, always in control. I don't like to get caught slipping.
Got you. It's funny. I would never get that from you, but hey, I'm learning. Okay. Got you.
Extremely type A. And I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't like to get caught slipping. I usually don't try to like talk to strangers, especially in countries abroad. But sometimes I'm insecure about that because people may sometimes think that I'm not the most fun person in the world. And I
Got
don't
it.
go with the flow and, you know, embrace these sometimes encounters that happen. So I decided to kind of take a step back as my friend took the lead on this day.
Yeah.
And this really nice Thai man, he said to us, you know, you ladies are so nice. I just want to let you know the reclining Buddha, the attraction that you're trying to see today, it's actually closed today. But I have another idea of an attraction that you can go to, and I can actually even set you up with this tuk-tuk driver.
Okay.
Who will, you know, a tuk-tuk is like a little motorcycle for anyone who doesn't know. I'll set you up with this tuk-tuk driver. I'll speak to him in Thai. I'll get you a great discount. He'll take you straight there. And we're like, okay. My friend is like, Denika, we have to do this. This is a great opportunity. It's cheap. This is such like an organic relationship that we just built. I was very reluctant, but I'm like, you know what, Denika, you have to just go with the flow sometimes. So we went in this tuk-tuk and we got kidnapped. We got kidnapped for a solid 1.5 to 2 hours because, first of all, not only was this reclining Buddha actually open, this man just lied to us to convince us to get in this tuk-tuk in the first place.
Wow.
He decided to speak to this guy, and it's a scam in Thailand where you essentially kidnap foreigners, put them in this tuk-tuk, and take them to a bunch of your friends' gift shops, gem shops, things like that, and force them essentially to spend money because you feel pressured. You're in the middle of nowhere. You don't know where you are. You're not
vulnerable.
familiar. We're vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, once we spent like a little bit of money at some of these gift shops of the friends, we were dropped off. But we realized very quickly, like, let's not just trust random people, perhaps. Let's stick to the plot. And then when we went home to my best friend who gave us the instructions of what to do for the day, we were so ashamed to tell her what happened. We're like, we kind of got kidnapped, and she's like, I gave you a plan. And yeah, since then I'm like, let me just trust my intuition moving forward.
That's crazy. You got kidnapped, and I'm actually shocked. I mean, you hear about these stories, but do you think does this happen to men too? Like in Thailand, so it doesn't matter. Like this is like a hustle that people do out there.
It does. It is a very common scam. I will say men in Thailand tend to fall for other types of scams.
I got you. Different program.
Yeah.
Different program. Yes, I understand.
Yes.
I understand. Wow. So your experience your lesson rather that you learned from that is trust your gut, not be so trustworthy to, you know, these people panhandling that may present or seem friendly, and kind of stick to your plan.
Exactly. I have a very strong intuition, as most women do. I knew something was off, but I kind of doubted myself because I wanted to go with the flow.
Right.
But next time I think I'll listen to my conscience or my intuition.
So you wanted to do something off script, something normally that Denika wouldn't do. I can respect that because sometimes when you do travel, because lately a question that I've been asking myself is, what would happen if I did the opposite of what I normally do? Just to satisfy my curiosity. Like it could be something as simple as like, maybe I take this one specific route to the GO train. What happened if I turned right instead of left? Is it faster? I don't know. Sometimes I'm curious like that, but I understand when you're abroad, you know, you don't have the same level of knowledge, the wherewithal, the understanding. So I can understand how you can get caught in a certain situation like getting kidnapped.
Yeah.
Best believe that's going to be a YouTube thumbnail, just so you know.
Okay. And sometimes it is okay to go off script, but it's important to trust your intuition. If you feel like there's a red flag.
And you felt it.
I did.
But you were just like, all right, just go with it.
Just go with it.
I hear that. Okay. So, Liberty Leave. Let's talk Liberty Leave. That's like your baby, right?
That is my baby.
So you created the term Liberty Leave and trademarked it.
In Canada and the US. That is not cheap.
She's not playing, y'all. She's not playing. I saw that. I was like, excuse me, trademark. Okay, she's not playing. So you created the term Liberty Leave to describe your career break, a powerful shift in how we talk about stepping away. Now, what I want to know, was there, like, how did this come about? Was there like a slow build up to that decision or a defining moment that made it clear that, like, you know, something had changed that was dramatic in your life? In other words, Denika, how did choosing to pause become a turning point for your personal and professional growth?
Okay, so there were kind of two stages of my Liberty leave. My first, or my V1 Liberty leave, was in 2019. I was working at TELUS. I had been working there for about 10 years at the time. So I started in 2008 in Bramley City Center in the mall selling phones.
Shout out to B-Town.
Yes, exactly.
Most notorious city in Canada right now.
Is it?
Doesn't have a good rep.
Not for good reasons, yeah. Besides that I was working in Bramley City Center selling phones to be able to afford university, essentially. I was working like 30 plus hours. I was also going to school full time, and I was also interning at Sony for my first marketing
Where'd you go
job.
to school?
Not ARDA, what do we call it now? TMU.
Okay, got
Toronto Metropolitan University for radio and television. I was actually supposed to be doing this.
Get out of here. I was a TV and radio major, but I went to school in New York. But
Oh, no way.
okay, sorry to interrupt.
No,
Go
cool. So I had always been working like really hard.
Yeah.
I started in this company selling phones. Eventually, I worked my way up into the marketing communications team, started as an intern right out of university, then got to a manager, senior manager position, like very aggressively climbing the corporate ladder to a point that it really burnt me out. Because not only was I trying to do all the things to be able to land in the marketing industry as soon as I could out of university, I was also trying to do as many panels and speaking gigs as I could. I was really trying to build my personal brand, my professional brand. I was trying to do all the things, and I was really tired. And I knew that in the back of my mind, like I had always dreamed of wanting to take a career break or a gap year. And a lot of the rich kids in my school, they were able to do it right after university.
Right.
That was not my reality.
Right.
That was not my reality. I was able to land a job, and I'm like, let me hold on to this job because I don't know when something like this is going to come around again. So I worked in the industry for 5 years, but I knew in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be able to take a career break. And in 2019, I had saved up enough money to make it happen. A year and a half prior to that, I discovered the term digital nomad, which is, you know, these amazing people who are working from their computers and going to multiple different countries over, you know, maybe spend a few weeks here, a few months here. And like, I really want to dabble in that. But I didn't want to quit my job because I do come from like a scarcity money mindset background where
You're Caribbean, right?
I'm Caribbean. My parents are
it.
Jamaican and I have a single mother. Like,
I get it.
yeah. I was really afraid to completely walk away from that job. So what I did for a year and a half before I planned to leave is I did really well at my job. I made sure to always go above and beyond. I made sure to document every single win that I had with like results that are quantifiable, etc. So by the time I was ready to ask for a sabbatical for 6 months, it was already set up. They couldn't tell me no.
You are A-type.
Extremely
That was
type A.
very strategic of you. Well done. Well
It
played.
was very strategic. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they said yes. I was so grateful that they said yes, and it got approved. And I took 6 months off of my job to travel through Southeast Asia solo. So I went to Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines by myself. And it was a life-changing experience.
So can I ask you why those specific countries?
Because I knew that my Canadian dollar would stretch quite far in that region of the world. Southeast Asia, if you're traveling on, you know, Canadian dollar, US dollar, euro, etc., you're going to get...
Money goes a long way.
It does. So...
Gotcha. Again, very strategic of you. Gotcha.
If I went to like Europe or something, I could take like a 1 month break.
Right.
If I went to Southeast Asia, I took 5-6 months, did everything I want, ate everything I wanted, and was able to afford it comfortably.
Yeah. You know what? I haven't been to the continent of Asia yet. And I have a very soft reason why I haven't been.
What's the reason?
I don't think I could do the flight.
Can you do it in business class?
Yeah, well, how much is that going to run me, though?
So, I mean, you can obviously find like strategic routes. Now I found a strategic route in business class.
Yeah.
If you fly from Spain, which I know we'll get into a bit later, but that's where I was living, you can upgrade to business class for like 600 Canadian dollars. So your whole flight in total is like $1,500.
So when you transfer in Spain, that other ticket is an upgrade.
Exactly.
That's the hustle.
So there are ways to make it happen, but you're right. It is.
Yeah.
It's not a joke flight. Like, it's a lot.
Because you know where I'm trying to go, and I know we're going to talk about like destinations, but I really want to touch the continent of Africa this year. This is like really top of mind. South Africa specifically, but many other countries like Ghana is also on that list, Tanzania. But I'm very determined to touch the continent. But I'm like, man, I've never been on a flight longer than 8 hours.
Oh, Oh,
Yeah. So the farthest I've been, I think, is Sweden, which is about 8 hours.
okay.
That's the farthest I've been. So this would be a big step for me when I take it.
That's fair. I mean, you can always start, collecting points on your credit card to be able to upgrade to that business
Yeah.
flight without paying. I feel like that's the easiest
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But it's valid. Those flights are intense.
Yeah, the long flight. I'm gonna get there. I mean, there's also like I'm thinking. I know there's some people that take I don't know what the meds are that help them to go to sleep.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah. So one of the other things I wanted to kind of touch on was kind of like the purpose, at least my understanding of the purpose of Liberty Leave. So you now build bridges for burnt out women, helping them pause work without derailing their careers. I want to like make sure that sinks in to the listeners and the viewers without derailing their careers. But I imagine the question that comes to mind for a lot of folks that kind of read that about what you do and what you help women do is I imagine that did you ever worry that taking this break would tank your earning power? Like, did anyone ever say to you, you'll never earn this kind of money again? Like, I'm sure, especially coming from a scarcity Caribbean culture mindset, I know even if you're personally not like that from your mom and your family, like, how did you navigate that? And how do you help others navigate that?
I'm extremely misunderstood in my family. Everyone in my
I can
family
imagine.
thinks I'm insane.
I can imagine.
And I'm okay with that because I'm happy. Like I'm genuinely happy with the adventures that I've taken.
Yeah.
And I've kind of built this mindset that like you mute the background noise. Like if you're doing something that like truly brings you joy and walking away from something that makes you miserable, that's a win-win. Like at the end of the day, who cares what people think? Like they're not in your mind. This is your life. We're here for not a long time. Do what you got to do. So I also try to teach, the women who I lead that like you're going to have people who are judging you. People are going to think you're insane. People are going to try to plant doubts in your head. But you have to kind of know to be stronger, to kind of, rise above that because ultimately, especially if you're burnt out, if you're working a job that you hate that makes you miserable, you're going to eventually burn out. You're going to get sick. Things are going to happen to you. You're not going to be able to really like elevate in your life and your career if you're stuck in a place that you don't enjoy. So that's what I really try to remind women who I lead. And it's also not just about derailing your career. I also try to teach them how to like not derail their finances because being away from work for a long time, like you're not earning money. But with my first Liberty Leave that I just told you about, I saved for 18 months. Like this is not something that happens overnight. Like you can plan leading up to this. You don't have to be able to just, pull the savings out or, take out a line of credit, etc. You can be very strategic with the plan that you build to be able to afford this without going into debt.
So this was like a 2-year plan for you.
Yes.
You are A-type.
Extremely.
I could just see you having like, you ever see like those detective shows and they're trying to figure out who the guy is in the mob? I could just see you having a big board being like, all right, month 1, month 2. Okay.
Literally.
Got it. Got it. That's crazy. So when you're sitting down with these women that are, maybe they're stressed out from their job, like what are like the first 3 things that you're saying them or coaching them through?
Scarcity mindset.
Right.
Reminding them that like we can still figure out like a job for you when you get back. Whether it's, going back to your same job, we can figure out how to do it in a way where I planted the seeds where I would get approved and be able to come back to my role. Whether that's pivoting into something new altogether. If you hate your job right now, you're not going to like it when you come back. It's actually just going to make you more miserable. So definitely figuring out your job and navigating your career. Also figuring out your finances. People's number one concern is like, I could never afford that. So being able to teach them how to, the 3-prong approach that I did with this was how do I make more money? So I made sure to get a raise right before I started this planning process. So I'd have more money to save. Okay. How can I, save more money? So how can I spend less? How can I, say no to my friends inviting me to dinner in Yorkville and maybe propose a picnic instead? Things like that.
Yeah.
And how can I do more with the money that I have now? So investing, moving my money from a checkings account to a high interest savings account, maybe throwing it in the stock market, etc. Yeah. Basically doing everything that I could to have more money to be able to actually afford this. That's what I teach women to do as well.
Right. So one has to have a high level of commitment to kind of do a Liberty Leave, right?
100%.
So when you're coming across like your clients, how do you assess how committed they are?
Sometimes you can just ask, how bad do you want it? And anytime my mentor has asked me how bad do you want it, like it actually offends me because it's like,
Yeah.
I want this really badly. Like, how dare
Yeah.
you even question me? So really just straight up asking how bad they want it, but also just like almost leading them to questions that make them reveal how unhappy they are right now, if it's in their job or whatever they're doing currently. Like, how burnt out are you? What are you continuing to push through? When people ask you how you are you saying, living the dream, which is like a very sarcastic, common response that people say when they're not really happy with their lives?
Yeah.
Just really focusing on like almost dragging it out of them to admit that they don't like their current situation. And from there, it's quite simple to realize, okay, I'm taking this career break and we're designing it because I want to give you time and energy to step back and really think about what you want next for your life.
Right.
I'm not teaching people to take career breaks or what I call a liberty leave to just, go gallivant the world, go drink, go eat, go to the beach, and then go back to what you were doing before. The whole focus, the whole part of it is to pivot. It's to think about what you want next for your life. It's to consider what's not working for you right now, what is working for you right now, how can you actually change it? It's like the purposeful pause, which is taking the break,
Right.
the plan to make it happen, and then the pursue, you're actually going on the break, and then you're pivoting. You're doing something differently.
So this is kind of like therapy in a retreat kind of format way. I'm getting this now. Okay. And you know what? The reason why I love this is because for me, traveling is such a great experience. And I think as someone, I would consider myself a life student or a student of life. And I find one of the best ways to learn is just experiencing different cultures. So for example, I did my own, no, it wasn't a Liberty Leave. It was a 4-day trip, but it felt like a retreat. Going back to your purpose. So I went to Costa Rica for the first time last summer. I didn't stay in the Airbnb with an infinity pool like everyone does. No, I booked like a cabin. It was a nice one, but it was a cabin in the middle of the jungle in Costa Rica, right? I'm talking like I go out on my doorstep. There's like an iguana there. I go down the stairs. There's this massive spider web that I had to walk through. I'm talking like I'm in
The jungle.
the jungle, like howling monkeys.
Yeah.
Fire ants, you name it. I'm in it by myself. Very limited internet. Pretty much cut myself from the outside world, and I did that intentionally because I wanted to kind of reset for myself. And one of the best experiences in my life, honestly. So I buy into the vision and the purpose of what people can gain from doing this kind of liberty leave. I'd wonder what it would be like to do it for like 6 months, 12 months.
I was going to ask, after you took that 4-day trip, did anything change for you? Like any new perspectives?
I'm going to get to that. I'm going to say
Okay.
that to the end. I had a revelation. Like certain things came to mind. I'll share one of them now. One of the things I learned, this is kind of funny and it's like duh, but when you're off the internet, 24 hours is a long time. Mm-hmm. There's actually a lot of time in the day. When there's no distraction, there's times where I'm like, I was getting antsy. I was like, like, there's so much time in a day. But as soon as you get back here, it's just like boom, 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 boom. So it taught me a lot about how I have to self-regulate. I was already doing a lot of self-regulation with Instagram. So one of the things I used to do back in the day to protect my peace was I wouldn't scroll. So if your post, when you open up the app, there's somebody's post that randomly pops up. If you weren't that random person, I wouldn't know what's going on in your file. The only way that I would get to it if I manually search for Denika's profile. And I did that intentionally because I was in a period in my life where I wasn't happy where I was at career-wise. And seeing everyone's successes transparently, it bothered me. So I had to protect my peace because of the phase that I was in.
I understand and relate to that a lot. Actually, from 2014 to 2019, I was not on any social media. I went through a really bad breakup, but also similar to you, was at a point in my life where I just was not happy. And I was suffering from like what I was calling obsessive comparison disorder. I was
love that.
always comparing myself to
Yeah.
people, and it just made me feel like crap about myself.
Yeah.
So I kind of just disappeared for a bit to like find myself, learn to fall in love with my company. And I think that actually set the stage for me to be able to take a 5-6 month trip alone, because I really do love being alone. I love my company.
Right. Now, I know I spoke about why I love travel. Why do you love it so much?
I love to learn different cultures.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you can do that in short trips, which is why, like, my average trip these days, it sounds very bougie, but my average trip time is 30 days in a country, because I think
Love it.
that allows you to actually not fully immerse, but it gives you the opportunity to have your favorite cafe, talk to some of the locals, pick up on some things, see where locals are lining up for food, so you start to go there too, just to really get used to like what it would be to actually live there, maybe
Yeah.
pick up some of the language as well. I really love just learning different cultures. And also, I just really love challenging myself, because it's really scary, especially as a woman, a Black woman alone. Like, I've been in a lot of Asia. People stare at me all the time. And sometimes it's like curious, friendly stares. Sometimes it's like, girl, what are you doing here? It takes a certain type of confidence to be able to navigate these spaces.
So I want to pause right there, because this comes up. When I go on like IG or whatever platform, I see there's two types of interpretation. I think I saw the most recent video I saw was a young Black lady was in an Asian country. I don't recall. She put it on her post, but someone was staring at her, but she took it like as, oh, they're just curious. They're not used to seeing a Black woman, so it was friendly. But some people can take it completely in a negative fashion. How do you go about those situations where you're getting stared at and things of that nature?
I take it as curiosity as well, because I've actually had time to spend, like, quite long time to spend in these places, like, and just consume the same media that they do. Like, they really only see us on TV often.
Right.
Like, so it's very rare that they have like an in real life. Some of these people have very like an in real life encounter with Black folks. So I don't take it as like any malice behind it. I don't get angry. Sometimes if people are being like weird about it and like sneaking, I'll do the same thing. Like, I'll take pictures of them, or if I see them taking like selfies with me, I'll do the same thing. And then they think it's weird, and I'm like, yeah, it is weird.
I like that play.
But I don't get upset about it, because like I'm a Black woman in a place that there's not really many people who look like me.
That's fair. No, that's fair. Has anyone ever tried to touch your hair? Has that ever happened to you?
Yes.
How'd you respond to that?
Again, curiosity. People have also tried to pet me. So what I find is so interesting is people, sometimes they'll touch me and they'll be like, you feel like your skin feels like my skin.
You should call it shea butter.
I'm like, I'm a human. Like, we're both humans. We're just different colors. And I would understand if people get offended when people like touch them, and people really shouldn't be touching others. But again, it's kind of all goes back to they're just really curious, and they've never seen someone who looked like me in real life before.
No, I get that. And I try to have that kind of perspective when you travel in places where they're not used to seeing Black folks, or just because there's a lot of homogenous countries out there, especially in Asia, right?
Yep.
So they're not used to seeing folks like us, and then when they see us, they're like, whoa. I want to go back to something we just kind of skirted over. The Caribbean kind of scarcity mindset. You're kind of like this black sheep in your family. How do you coach? Like, I know you were talking a little bit about that when you're with your clients, but like, how does that conversation in your case go with your mother? Like, what was that like? Was that like burdensome to you, or is less like, there's nothing you can do, I'm an adult, I'm going? Like, what was that like?
The latter. There's nothing you can do, I'm an adult, I'm going, but in a respectful way. Like, I try to help her understand why I think these things are necessary for me. She doesn't. Still.
Oh, wow, okay.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's still my life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
To try to like, ease her nerves. She doesn't have Instagram, but she does use Facebook. So I made it in a way where my Instagram stories upload to Facebook so she can get updates on what I'm doing. I, keep her posted on everything that I'm doing. Also, before when I was traveling solo, like that's when she was really scared because she was afraid for my safety.
Right.
But now I'm traveling with my boyfriend. So I think that actually eases her mind a little bit.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, my mom will never understand me. My mom was raised to, you get a job, you stay at that job for as long as you possibly can.
Right.
You don't make up any noise. You don't ask for anything.
Right.
And you stay there until you retire. You collect your pension and whatever. And that's what good looks like. You also only save your money. Keep it in cash under your mattress if you can.
I know the mentality, yeah.
Investing is not for Black people. That is for rich white men on Wall Street. So really my entire being goes against what my mom was taught.
Right. And would you say that because you've done, let's just, for lack of better words, done the opposite of what your mom has taught you, how would you say that she looks at you? Does she like see, even though she doesn't understand it, does she like, my daughter's successful, but I don't understand it. She's crazy. Like, is that?
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
She's successful. I don't really understand what she does.
Yeah.
She is quite insane. I love her. I support her, but I don't really get it. But I'm okay with that. You know?
That's fair.
It's fine.
That's fair. Cause I remember we had the same major, television and radio. And I remember so I went to school in New York. I lived in New York for about 7 years. And I remember I was at it was like Thanksgiving dinner, and some like distant relative was like, "Oh, what are you studying?" I was like, "Television and radio." And she like whispers to someone like, "What's he gonna do with that?" But she just doesn't know. She's from a completely different generation, and plus when you add the background of Caribbean, if you're not one of those traditional professions, they don't really understand. So I totally get that point. Now, you're a huge risk taker. It's not typical for Canadians to make a big move like that, yet alone from like a different province to a different city. You went across the world, literally. So my question to you is, I know you mentioned that you're A-type, but where does that like inspo come from? Or have you always been that way as being able to take big risks?
I think I just really like to impress myself.
Right.
I like to be impressed with myself. And I knew that I had always wanted to travel the world. I knew that I wasn't able to do that when I was younger. We just couldn't afford it. I didn't do like family vacations or anything like that. So as soon as I was able to, it's almost like revenge travel.
I get it.
I was overcorrecting.
I get it. So you know what just came to mind? When you talked about when you're going to university and graduating, all these kids were taking their like, what was the term you used when they take a trip?
Gap year.
Gap year, right. So for me, when I went to school, everyone was having fun in the summer. I was working at some factory through an agency because I didn't have much time. I had 11 weeks. And so I was slaving away every summer. So I had no spring break, no Daytona Beach, none of that. I'm now 40. I know I don't look it. But I didn't actually really start traveling until I was like approaching my mid-30s. So I get the whole revenge travel thing because I was like denied that, being a little bit dramatic there, during my 20s. So that when I finally did, I went to Europe. The amount of times I've traveled per year in the last 3 years is way over the average. Literally, I was at Pearson 10 out of 12 months last year.
Wow.
Now, short stays, not your 6 to 12 months like you're doing. But I get what you're saying. I didn't have that experience growing up. So now I feel like I'm making up for that loss.
Yeah, I just feel like, it wasn't in the cards for me.
Yeah.
Just by the way I was brought up with the income that we had. So as soon as I was able to make it happen, I did. And I knew I always wanted to move abroad as well. And I'm like, I'm going to put a pin in this. As soon as I can afford to make this happen, and as soon as the cards align for me, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen right away, but I'm absolutely going to make it happen. And as soon as I was able to, I did.
That's amazing. So going back to Liberty Leave here for a second, there's a point you call out where you help people, where you don't derail their career. In these kind of uncertain job times, if you will, how do you kind of set those parameters up for your clients that are, hey, Denika, I really want to take this Liberty Leave, but right now it's a scarce job market. They're still cutting jobs. Like, what does that conversation look like?
Those fears are very valid. The job market is very much on fire right now. So first of all, I acknowledge that, and I don't like lie and be like, oh no, you'll be fine. It's a reality. But one of the things that like I do on my Liberty Leave, for example, is I'm still checking in with people on LinkedIn. I'm still building connections so that, if or when I need an introduction or something, it's not like a cold favor. It's actually, people I've been keeping in contact with. I'm building my personal brand. I'm still posting on LinkedIn. These are things that I also encourage my clients to do as well. So you don't go completely ghost if you can afford it. It would be nice to go completely ghost if you are truly, truly burnt out and you need a full break from that. But I would always recommend, keeping in contact with your network if or when you do plan to pivot back to where you were before. But also in your travels, especially if you're in like the more creative space, if you're in marketing, if you're in sales, people that you're going to meet on your travels, especially in like some of the cities that are popular for nomads that I typically frequent, there's going to be so many new opportunities for you. Like, I've learned of career paths that I didn't even know existed just from the people that I meet on my travels. Like, I'm still very social in all of these like major nomad hubs that I go to because it's so interesting to find out what's out there. Like, you'll see someone who, you know, they look like they just rolled out of bed. They're making $1 million running a business from their laptop. And just being in close proximity to those people and just having the courage to ask them questions, you know, take them out for coffee, etc., that can open up your mind to like a whole new world of possibilities. And I encourage folks that if you're going to do something like that, like learn from people too, because you never know what you'll find and you'll never know what you have the opportunity to pivot to.
I love that. One of the thoughts that came to my mind, my boy Nana, Ghanaian, we used to work together, and he's like a digital nomad, world traveler. Guy's been to like 30 plus countries, climbs mountains and all that type of stuff, goes scuba diving. So I remember when we were working together, this is towards the tail end of the pandemic. Our company still had pretty, you know, flex rules about where you can work before they tighten that up. So he's like, man, I'm on the global team. I technically don't have a home office. So I'm going to go to Colombia. And he worked for 2 months in Colombia, went to Cartagena, he went to Bogota, he went to Cali. My man's salsa game came back. He was like, bye, 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 bye. Like,
I love that.
We went out salsa now. I was like, yo, this is crazy.
I love
this
it.
is crazy. But so I hear you on that. And going back to one of the reasons why I love to travel is the discovery piece. Like I'm kind of a people nerd, kind of creepy, but I'll like sit down on a bench like in a new country, and I was just like just take in the cultural nuance. Like one of the things, like when I went to South Italy 2019, just before the pandemic, actually, I remember going up the Amalfi Coast, and not that I haven't seen this before, but this is my first time seeing this in like a European country. I remember there was this father, he was like on what I think was a Vespa, and his like daughter was in the front and his son was on the back, and the Amalfi Coast roads are windy in the hill. No one was wearing a helmet. And I was just like, man, if you put that same situation in Canada, they're like, oh, bad parent, call child protection services, all this, what's wrong with these people? Some people shouldn't be having kids. All the headlines. Over there, perfectly normal.
Yeah.
And I love understanding those different cultural nuances. And also to your point, you learn that there's many different ways to live this thing we call life. There's not just this one regimented way.
It also just puts things into perspective too. Like these big problems that you think are big problems, in the grand scheme, they're not. You're just like a very small dot on a very big floating rock. We're all figuring it out together.
Facts. Okay. Black while traveling. What are your personal do's and don'ts for traveling while Black, if you have any?
Personal do's and don'ts. I think one of the best things you can do to be well received by the locals when you travel is learn how to say hello and thank you in the local language. Those are the only 2 words you need to know. It goes such a long way with how people receive you and respect you, and just like you'll just have such a better experience, you know, with how you with how you experience the place. Another do I would say is, when you're trying to look for food spots, don't just look at what's highly rated on Google Maps. Go to where you see locals lining up. That is the best trick to find the best food, 100%. And a don't, I would say, is, and this might be a little bit controversial, is, you know, you'll see a lot of videos online, short in like TikTok, Instagram. Don't go to this place. I am a Black person and I had a really bad experience here. Don't ever go here. It's not safe for Black people. I would always say to take those videos with a grain of salt. I'm not invalidating anyone's experience.
Right.
But I've had such great experiences at places that other Black folks have had terrible experiences, and vice versa. You really can only like go and find out for yourself. I will say, I noticed that in many countries, Black people are treated worse when locals, especially in places like Europe and in places like Asia, when they think that you're actually from Africa.
Yes.
The continent itself.
Yeah.
So if you are like, dressed in like traditional garment, or if you have an accent, that's typically when people are unfortunately treated quite poorly, especially in places in Europe, because they have a lot of folks just think that, there's like some immigration, refugee, things like that, there's conflict. But a lot of times if Black folks are, like from Canada or from the US, you tend to be treated, slightly better.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. Like regardless, you should be treating all people with kindness. But I will say that take experiences that you see online with a grain of salt, because it really depends. The best you can do is just, go and experience it for yourself and draw your own conclusion.
I love the fact that you said that, because I see a lot of those videos and I'm like, it could be like, I'm not saying that it might not happen more than once, but it could be like a one-off experience. To me, again, not to diminish anyone's personal experience, it's kind of similar to someone that goes to, let's say, Jamaica. Their room gets broken into, they have some bad jerk chicken and they get food poisoning, and then they're like, Jamaica sucks.
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's that. And to your point, I think, one of the first things you said as a do is, learn how to say hi and goodbye in the local language. And I think it's also how you present yourself. If you just come in there expecting everyone to speak English and that's not the local language, you could rub people the wrong way, which could lead to them treating you in a negative fashion.
Yes, I will say of all of my travels, people from the United States and like Brits, those tend to be the communities that have more negative reputations abroad, because they often do expect people to speak English in countries that's not their first, second, or even third language. So also just like come with respect, knowing that you are, a guest in another person's country, and figure it out for yourself. And like we said, not to invalidate anyone's experience.
We don't want the comments coming for her.
Please don't come for me.
I already
I'm tired.
had to defend you on Threads the other day.
People are always angry at me.
Some people are professional, angry comment people. I think some people are trying to make a career out of it. Okay, so extending on to that, what are your top 5 countries based on your traveled experience for Black people to go to? And then give me top ones that we should maybe reconsider not going to based on your personal experience.
Okay. Again, as we just said, everyone take my experiences with a grain of salt.
That's the warning. Grain of
That's
salt.
the warning.
Here. Grain of salt.
But my top favorite country that I've been to 7 times and already want to go back is Thailand. Like 100%. We are so well received there. The people are nice. The food is delicious. Have never experienced any like racism there. And Chiang Mai specifically is a city that I adore. There's a big Black community there that often has like Sunday dinners together.
Yeah, I think I seen your post about that a while back.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the main reasons that I decided to take my first Liberty Leave back in 2019, because when I was doing my research, I'm like, there's Black people in all of these Asian countries. What? And they have Sunday dinners together, Sunday brunches together, community events and things like that. So I think Thailand 100%, specifically Chiang Mai is my favorite place. You can go anywhere, but Chiang Mai is like the city I think to go to. Thailand for sure. My boyfriend and I went to Dublin, Ireland recently, and we were really well received there.
Interesting.
People were really kind to us. And I've actually been seeing this as a trend on like TikTok lately too, is Irish folks, well, people from Dublin is I haven't been to the whole country. I've been to Dublin, are just really welcoming. And the food there is amazing. Some really great sights and sounds. So highly recommend Dublin as well.
Yeah. Had some cabbage and corned beef.
Is that
Is
that an Irish thing?
Maybe you might not know about that. Okay, no worries.
I actually don't.
Okay, got you.
I had some excellent pizza, and we had some Guinness stew there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's another great country. I also really enjoy Vietnam, specifically Da Nang, which is like central Vietnam. I think Black folks would love it there because that's also a place where you can have custom clothing made. I got an entire new wardrobe made there in April.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I seen you post that.
Yeah, you can get like your linen and your cotton and whatever. People are really nice there, but also there's like the bonus of having all of your natural fabrics made there as well. So I'd say those are probably like the top 3 off the top of my head. Yeah. Jamaica, of course, is where I'm from. I love it there. Unfortunately, I feel like as a woman doing anything at night by yourself,
of course,
be a little risky.
Proceed with caution.
But Jamaica is also an incredible place. And Southeast Asia in general, I think as a region is just like, for me, I've had really good experiences. Right. Also because there's a lot of Black tourists and travelers there. So it's not like you're not going to be as out there, because they're used to seeing us.
Southeast Asia
specifically. So the countries that I mentioned that I went to earlier on my break, as long as you stay in like the major cities, you won't be met with like, oh, what's that,
All right. Well, I guess I'm going to have to do that 18-hour flight or however long it is. Jesus.
It's fine. You can just stop in Europe for like, gallivant for a couple of days and then just do the second half.
Okay. Don't or proceed with caution countries. Based on your opinion.
There are only 2 countries that I've had negative experiences in, racist experiences. One was actually Mexico City, which interestingly enough, a lot of Black folks, a lot of like Black people from the US also have been going there, especially since the pandemic. My partner and I got followed around in H&M and then searched as we were leaving. Oh, wow. So that wasn't great. Didn't enjoy that. And the second country I had a bad experience in was Jordan. Specifically in Petra. That's where I learned how you say the N-word in Arabic, because that is what me and my friends were called there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so how do you, actually, let me take a step back here. You mentioned that your partner came with you. How did that conversation go? Because you're now off asking him to make like a big life change.
Yeah. So, what we've been talking about so far was kind of my first Liberty Leave in 2019. That was a completely solo trip. Yeah. I did like my 5-6 months in Southeast Asia, had to come home a little bit early because it was the pandemic, but still time of my life, knew I wanted to do a part 2. In 2023, I was working at Shopify. Right. I got really badly burnt out, like worse than I've ever been burnt out in my life, to a point that I actually had to take an 8-week stress leave. Yeah. So I took 2 months off from work. And as I returned back to work, I got laid off as part of like a 20% reduction in the workforce or in the team. Right. And I had already knew that like I wanted to try moving abroad. I had recently discovered a visa that is available to Canadians 18 to 35 years old, called the Youth Mobility Visa or the Working Holiday Visa, that allows you to move to a bunch of different countries in Europe, like Spain, which is where my boyfriend and I chose, for a year. And literally once I discovered it and kind of like put the plan together in my head, I just asked him, I'm like, hey, do you want to move to Spain? He's like, all right.
Damn. Whoa.
There were no questions, no follow-ups. That's love. Right?
That man loves you.
He does. No reluctancies whatsoever.
That's crazy. Anyways. Well, God bless him.
Yeah.
God bless him. Because I was like, damn, your partner. Okay. God bless y'all.
Yeah. And actually, before him and I started dating, he wasn't like a big traveler.
So he wasn't a traveler.
No.
This is like out of his realm.
This is out of his realm. But I'm so proud of him because, we did it. We did it. We learned how to navigate this new culture. We learned how to like integrate into Spanish culture. We took Spanish classes together. Yeah. It was a really cool experience.
So how confident are you in your Spanish?
I'm so.
Can you have a conversation with somebody?
I can understand fully what people are saying. 80% I can understand what people are saying to me, but I get self-conscious speaking back just because
of course.
It's not as easy.
I used to be decent because I took 3 semesters of Spanish in college and when I was in New York. But I stopped speaking it, and like the only thing I could say is like the Lord's Prayer, and that's it.
Okay.
That's it. But I would love to get back into that at some point.
Yeah. That's another cool way to actually connect with locals through language.
Yes. No, absolutely. I've seen someone say that like when you can speak the local language, it almost doesn't matter what your ethnicity, background, race is. People instantly feel
like their eyes light up as soon as they hear you
what?
speak.
You can speak my language?
Yeah.
Oh my God, come over and have dinner.
Yeah.
All right, now we're actually gonna get to the 3 questions part. So I'm gonna do a nice little circle around pivot here. Now you asked me about what was like kind of the revelation that I had when I went to Costa Rica.
Yes.
So while I was there in this cabin in the middle of the jungle, I had this thought that came to my mind, and it said, no one will talk you, and you'll probably be able to relate to this, no one will talk you into and out of more things than yourself.
Yes.
So learning how to have positive, constructive, healthy conversations with yourself is probably one of the biggest skills you can learn and adapt in life. Because for me, I'm still an overthinker, but I'm able to navigate through my overthinking. And I've seen in my own personal life where I've cheated myself out of opportunities, I'll say. Right? I've literally talked myself out of things. And so it came to me. So I was like, these card games are very popular, but I've seen people using card games in the dating capacity. Mm-hmm. So I said, what if I came up with one for like yourself to guide you through your self-dialogue to help to improve those conversations with yourself. So game is named after the podcast, 3 questions.
Love that.
The concept is you pull 3 cards every day and you ask yourself these questions. So I'm just going to ask you to pull 2 anywhere in this deck and answer to the best of your abilities.
Okay. Okay, so my first one is, what habit do you have that serves you the most? It's a good question. I'm into this. I like this. The habit that I have that serves me the most is tuning out the background noise and just not giving an F what people think about me.
That's a skill.
It is. And it's a difficult one to, I think, especially when, you have the Caribbean background.
Yeah.
You have people who follow you, who, sometimes share their opinions about the things that you do. It takes a lot of courage. But I really don't care what people think about me.
That's an impressive skill, especially in this social media area where everyone's kind of connected to you. Do you think you could teach that?
I think I do. I would like to think that I do, or at least through directly or indirectly. I like to think that I encourage people to do what genuinely makes them happy and really just challenge the status quo, because who does the status quo serve? Are you genuinely happy with the things that you're told are normal, the things that you're told you need to work for, or do you want to do something completely different? Because if you do, we can make it happen. Right.
And, on that note, what you just said reminds me of something I read a while ago. There's a nurse that wrote an article or piece for The Guardian, maybe 10 years ago, and she was a nurse in palliative care. So people in their last, 3 months of life or what have you. And she started to journal her patients their last, 3 months of life. And she came out with this book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the number one regret was not living a life true to yourself. So that made me think of that.
Yeah, I like that. That. Okay, my second one. Who inspires you and why? My partner really inspires me. He is very courageous. He is very team Black folks getting paid, which I really appreciate. He is very unapologetic with who he is. He's very loud with literally he's actually quite a loud person, but he's also just loud with his unfiltered thoughts and why he thinks that, Black people should have the same opportunities as everyone else and get paid and just live happy lives. And then he inspires me and encourages me to just be bolder with my ideas, which I appreciate. So we kind of feed off each other's energy.
Power couple in the making, y'all. I love that for you. Okay, I'm going to ask you the final one.
Okay.
It's in the deck, but I have it in my head. I love to ask everyone this question. What is a quote or a mantra that you're currently living by?
My favorite one is, you're not too old and it's not too late, and you can switch it up as many times as you need to. You can reinvent yourself as many times as you need to. I think people often, have this sunk cost fallacy mindset where it's I've invested so much time and energy into this path, so I have to do this thing. It doesn't make sense for me to pivot now because I've already spent too much time, on that path. Switch it up.
Talking themselves out of it.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. So, Denika, before we officially part ways here, are you working on anything that you want to promote or plug right now? Do you have anything coming up? What's the next thing on the horizon for you?
Yeah, I'm officially launching my Liberty Leave course and community for burnt out women looking to take career breaks. I know earlier you mentioned men. Someone else can figure that out. I'm here for the girls.
I got it. Y'all are so good at the community stuff, guys. We gotta gotta get better at that.
Yeah, it's
Okay?
funny you say that because
Yeah.
in Malaga, in Spain, where I was living, I started a community for women, for Black women there as well. There's
Yeah.
already 400 women in it.
Oh, wow.
Black men are often trying to join the group, or they're saying, "Hey, can you, can you make one like this for us?" I'm like, "No, you could figure that out yourself."
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm launching my Liberty Leave course and community for burnt out women who are interested in taking career breaks without sacrificing their financial futures and their careers, and that launches in the fall.
Amazing. Well, I definitely want to stay tuned to that. I'm a fan of yours. By the way, this is a side note. So I work in advertising. I don't know if you knew that, but
You actually work for what was once my dream company.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I work in the advertising department, and one of my clients was Sunwing, and I was having a conversation with a client 2 months ago, and they were talking about an influencer program. It's like we're shooting around ideas. We're having like dinner over steak. I was like, and we text, like I have them on like phone. I was like, hey, I have someone for you when you get to that stage when you want to consider influencers. I didn't even know if you'd be interested in a brand, but I just shot your name out there anyways.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a shoot your shot type of person and then deal
Me
with
too.
the repercussions later. So he did thumbs up. So if it progresses, I'll let you know, and then you guys can take it from there.
I
But,
appreciate that. Thank you for looking
I was
out.
like, I know someone would be great for this. Here's her profile.
Thank you.
Okay, so this concludes this episode of 3 Questions with Corey Kareem. So for my listeners, for my audience, as you guys know, I like to end each episode with saying this. Sometimes you don't need to learn anything new. You just need to see or hear that somebody else went through it too. So with that being said, Denika and myself are out. Peace and love. Until the next time.